podcast. I'm Nelson.
I'm Jeff.
I'm Glow.
And I'm Kyle. We're the fucking Morning Throwers.
Welcome back to another episode of your favorite Song of Ice and Fire podcast. We're the Morning Throners. We got Sansa 1 on deck. And as you guys know, I always get fired up for these chapters.
Sansa and Cat, two of Jeff's least favorite.
Sansa and Cat. You know what I feel like the beginning of the books are? We really hit on it. This is like the beginning, like episode 1 of a new season of the show. Like they
recap everything.
It's probably good for like Kyle, who hasn't read some of the first books in a while, but first chapters from the first book in a while. But they retread a lot of stuff that we don't care about. Like we know what Tyrion's eyes look like. We know what everyone we get a lot of appearance stuff, right? We get a lot of recap.
They say that Ned died like 4 times. Her father, like they described him like 4 different ways, and they said he died every time.
It's weird because you could not just jump in here, right? It seems like they're doing a little bit to try and make it so you could just, if you wanted to, you could start on this book and just go. But there's no freaking way you could do that.
No, it's impossible.
I mean, we went over this last time.
We did. We really did.
How many years between the books coming out?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
These books probably 4 or 5, right? These two?
Who knows?
These ones weren't too bad, but yeah. I mean, now we're on.
I've just read the last
years.
one, and
that's all I'm saying. I guess it's kind of I think it's a literary
recap
thing.
for George as well, guys. Come on, he's got to remember.
We made another. Well, we're not there yet.
All right. Overall thoughts on this chapter, Kyle? Jeff didn't like it. Kyle's thoughts?
It's kind of what we were saying. Joffrey's being a little whiny bitch, and Sansa, it seems like she's kind of coming around a little bit. I mean, she used to be a little brainwashed, obviously. We talked about that, I'm sure, in the past. And then now she's kind of understanding that she's got this role to fill and that she doesn't have to like it. And she knows, especially towards the end, she's learning who she can and can't trust.
Yeah, I think the big thing, right, is... Well, there's a couple minor points that happen, like the Dantos thing and some of the other stuff, but the big thing is that Tyrion shows up at the end. At least that's a big thing to me, right?
Yeah, he does another very acrobatic move in the beginning of this book as well.
Jumps off his horse.
Yeah, and then he grabs Marcel.
He lifts her up around the waist.
His arm was in a sling. How did he?
That's what I'm saying. With one hand, yeah, exactly.
I'm thinking you can grab someone by the waist with one arm and spin them
and use that momentum. If she jumped up into him, there was maybe a chance that he used the momentum and just held on for dear life.
Yeah, and just grabbed one and did a quick spin. That's the only thing I can imagine.
As I've made it very public, I'm taking. I don't really care for Sansa or Catelyn. I'm trying to read these chapters from a more open perspective and giving her a chance. And I don't think it was bad. She didn't annoy me this chapter. And, you do obviously feel for her. She just lost her dad and she's living in hell. And she acted really tough this chapter, until we get there and she just kind of had her outburst. She was putting on a really brave face. So, all right. So we hop in and it's Joffrey's name day, which I believe the last time it was his name day was around Winterfell time.
I don't think you're right. It was right before that. I'm pretty sure there was a tournament that they had where Jon Arryn was at and stuff. It was kind of during I think it was during Dany's stuff. Yeah, Joff's name day takes place on 2/10, which is, again, per my timeline, just to put a date to something. 2/10. Jon Arryn dies 2 weeks later than that, and the first Bran chapter is a week after Jon Arryn dies. So basically, both books are starting pretty much about a year apart, give or take a month, apart from Joffrey's birthday.
Is 2/10 February 10th?
Yeah, sure. There's there's not months because it's the weird winter cycle, but that's how they.
Gotcha. That was right.
Yeah.
And Sansa's getting ready to go down to another tournament that they're having for Joffrey. So she's getting dressed, and the Kingsguard, man, new name, I believe. Eris Oakheart. We heard of him once when they anointed him, but this is first we hear of him and from him, I think, or maybe from him. We've heard of him, I guess.
We've heard of him twice before, but nothing big, just his appearance, I'm sure. It's both Sansa chapters where he's probably just standing there.
A decent dude, talks to her
looking fine,
nice, and he's not ugly, and
as far as Kingsguard
he treats her well. Yeah, he's the best out of all of them. So.
She prefers him.
To her, nicest and probably the best looking. But they talk about the comment for a little bit and just kind of the meaning behind it.
So we had so many different interpretations of this comment.
That's what I was going to say. Again, they're linking everybody together with this comment and this guy and kind of placing timeline, and then also just that I think he's kind of also casting into doubt the whole dragons, not the whole, like, everybody's initial kind of thing seems to be revolving around these dragons. Right?
Well, it's kind of, but also like everyone
That's
also.
like the rumors. How's that?
Well, it must have been something that's been seen before, right? Like,
well, the thing is, everyone sees this and they're just like, that has to mean something. No one just thinks it's a comet passing for the fuck of passing, like a comet going overhead. Everyone thinks there's some meaning to it, right?
But that's really common.
Yeah,
I think
everyone puts a meaning to it.
Sure, but I think what you're saying, Kyle, is everyone's contributing the dragon's meaning. And even this, they call it the dragon's tail, but they contribute the meaning to mean, oh, it's Joffrey. It's like Lannister colors. It's here for Joffrey. Stannis, like in the prologue, they interpret it like, oh, it's the red. I think they say something like the red god. Like, this is good. This is for Stannis. Like, this is a dragon, and you're a dragonstone, so it's for you, right? and Arya, there's no talk of dragons, but they're like, oh, they say, oh, it's the red sword. It looks like a sword from a fire. Arya thinks it looks like the sword after Ned died. Like, everyone is just contributing their own perspective. Like, it's again their own, like, I forget what that's called. When you're they're projecting. They're almost projecting onto this comet, like projecting a meaning onto the comet. But Kyle is right that this is the third, including Dany, and then we hear in the prologue, and then this one. So every chapter except for Arya is pretty much since the comet happened. There's been some dragon talk. They call it the Dragon's Tail here. I think it was related to Stannis because he was the Lord of Dragonstone.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think like the Dragon's Tail, calling it the Dragon's Tail to me makes it sound like they thought it had something to do with. Specifically with dragons more than and like they weren't obviously Aerys was like, nah, it's because he sat on the dragon's throne, you know, like that's why, like, he's not gonna say, oh yeah, we're fucked, you know, to Joffrey first off. And so I think that a lot of these people are kind of think it has something to do with the dragons, but I don't know that anybody wants to say it.
That's a good, maybe. I didn't really think of that, especially because even later in this chapter,
in King's Landing.
At least, I mean, even later in this chapter, I guess it's not with Aerys anymore, which would be interesting to see. But Joffrey does bring up Targaryens for like, it's really one of the first times besides one of the early Ned chapters where they talk about, except for the Ned chapters with Robert, it's the only really mention of the Targaryens in Westeros, which I guess makes sense. Joffrey's the one talking about it. The king is the one who's concerned with foreign powers, but there's no mention of Dany, no mention of dragons. All they talk, like, Joffrey basically just laughs at how they kill Viserys.
Well, they just learned that Viserys died.
Yeah, Joffrey is somehow just hearing that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, word travels slow, I guess, from the eastern lands.
Yep. So I think we covered the comet stuff. The one thing is that when he says, oh, it's Joffrey, it's Lannister colors, it means it's meant that he's going to triumph over his enemies. Sansa gets that thought, like, well, he's also Baratheon, like, shouldn't it be a gold comet or, like, black comet or, like...
Yeah, she's starting to question the gods a little bit, which I don't think she ever would have done. Like, if she truly would have thought this was a god's... I think a lot of people do, right? It's like a token from the gods, like, blah, blah, blah.
I think they're contributing meaning from it. I guess it comes from somebody,
yeah.
Right?
But back in... If this was... 2 months ago, she would have been all about it, right? Or before, like, oh yeah, it's for Joffrey. Like, he's more of a Lannister. Like, she would have been like, oh, he's more of a Lannister than a Baratheon anyway. Like what she said to Ned, right? And,
well, just weird because like she was never questioning anything about Joffrey before, but this is the type of stuff we were saying, right? Like the first like chapter where Arya sees them fighting. Even Kyle was like, why is this guy wearing all Lannister shit? Mm-hmm. He's the king's son. The king's a Baratheon. That's weird as shit. Like, you should be representing the king. And now Sansa's finally starting to be like, why did they never...
Why is he not a stag? Why is he wearing lion shit? Even like Tommen, too. Tommen's wearing a...
It starts to make sense, though, because now it kind of makes sense because of the predicament they're in, right? Like, their main enemy is just the stag. They have a secondary thing to be like, oh, if they want to disassociate from Renly, they go with lion.
But if you're the real deal, no, it's your name, too. Like, this, no, you're the fucking pretender. This is me. And they've never been that. And I'm going to say it's a lot because of who the Lannisters are as people and who maybe how Rob was. Like, Rob just didn't – or not Rob. Robert. I don't want to confuse it. Yeah. Robert just didn't give a fuck. Like, he was like, I don't give a shit. Like, I'm the Baratheon. I'm the stag. Like, I'm drinking. I'm whoring. Like, wherever the fuck you want.
Well, he wasn't – there wasn't any opposing Baratheons at the time either.
No, I'm saying more of like Cersei just dressing him up in like red and gold, and
I don't
like,
even know if he but I think
he doesn't care.
It definitely happened more in the first book, and I think in the first book it was meant to be like, or I mean it happens all over, but I think in the first book when it happens it's meant to be like a hint to the reader, like, oh, look at this guy who doesn't look like a Baratheon is wearing all this Lannister stuff, is that weird? But at this point they just keep like forcing it down like the throats, and but now it makes more sense, I think, because of you actually have an enemy who's Stag, so you don't want to. It's like you don't want to like. Wasn't there just an NBA game like 2 weeks ago where both teams showed up wearing red and nobody had any idea who's on whose team? Like the players knew, but none of the fans could tell.
If they did, I didn't watch it.
I think that happened.
Like,
in the first Sixers game, it was really funny because the Wizards were wearing this like gray jersey, and like one of the best players in the league like turned around and tried to throw a pass and threw it right to the referee because they were wearing like a gray shirt. Like it was the funniest fucking thing. It was like, that's your fault for wearing that jersey. Russell did it. Yeah, Russell.
Yeah, popcorn dumped on him. Yeah.
But
so yeah, she talks about the rest of the she's like you guys said earlier, she prefers Ares over most of the Kingsguard, and she gives like a quick description of everybody else. Who we got? Boris Blunt, short-tempered. Meryn Trant, we know she just says he's cold.
Yeah.
He's
the one that beat her, right? Or
beat her.
Well,
and he
beat her,
took
and
down
he was a
Syrio
serial
Farrell.
guy. Yeah, but he was also the one that goes to take her to Joffrey when they go and look at the heads on the wall, and he was the one that like she said like you're not a true knight, and he just said like most people would spit at her or say like or talk back. He just didn't give a fuck.
He's just
didn't say shit.
He just takes commands and does it, right?
I mean, she calls him cold, which is seems pretty on based on what we know.
Yeah.
Next one, Mandon Moore. All she says is strange dead eyes. Preston Greenfield treated Sansa like a child. The Hound,
who's not a real knight.
Yep.
And then there's Jamie, who's not named in that group.
Oh, he's not there. Yep, because she's never had interactions.
But I mean, she also, at this point, it mentions specifically like the Hound has never been told to hit her as well.
Yep. So it's not that he hits her less hard than anybody else; it's just that she doesn't know because Joffrey has never commanded the Hound to hit her.
Mm-hmm.
Which maybe says something.
The Hound probably told him, like, dude, I'm not doing that shit. Get the fuck out of here.
Well, so Sir Aerys was told, and he did fight back, which you think would be just crazy for a knight to do. And, I mean, I guess not crazy, but he ended up doing it because he knew it was just, like, he would have died. And they would have killed him. Like, Joffrey would have killed him if he said no.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he didn't get killed for just saying no right away.
Yeah.
Joffrey must have been in a good mood that day. So they start walking down. What's the deal with this what's the deal with the tournament? It's not
there's
like
no one there. It's nothing like the last one.
It's shitty, filled with gnats.
Yeah.
First off, it's not even in the tourney yard. They have to hold it inside the Red Keep, like in like the where they in the training yard.
Because they scared.
Because the city's kind of a little bit going to shit right now. Not going to shit, but like. There's definitely shit going on. They closed the gates.
They closed the gates. There's probably no commerce there. And just think about the amount of people who would come to the last tourney because it was peace, we'll say.
Well, all the people who are
fighting.
all
the families came. Yeah,
everyone who's fighting in a war now didn't have anything to do last year, and they came to the tournament. Now they're all like busy fighting people. So.
In camp, So
and at war with each other, like
and that kind of takes it to like who's there to fight in this war. Like you have the Kingsguard, you would have Joffrey if he wasn't a pussy, and the Nats.
Tommen.
Just everyone left, and Tommen, who loses to a straw figure. I don't even understand how the straw figure was able to fucking swing the thing.
Just think this. No, they basically just have this on a straw figure, and the shield's here, and when you hit the shield, the mace comes around. So you just got to be quick, right? That's the deal. I'm pretty sure that's how that works. That was a visual representation, but I think most people got that. I was just helping Jeff out.
It whipped around and hit him in the back of the head. Yeah. Knocked him off.
Fool.
What a noodle.
So she gets down to the pavilion that they kind of built.
So Ares is fighting in it. We had a couple Kingsguard fighting in this thing.
Ares is going to fight. Meryn does, right? Or Boris?
Meryn is, and he fights. He's in the first one, I think, against one of the Redwine twins.
Ares doesn't actually end up fighting, right?
He doesn't. I think the tourney gets called before we can see what he's got. But he thinks he's going to be the winner. He says out of everyone, there's less than 40 participants. But I think we only see like 4 or 5 tilts. So.
So she gets to the pavilion. Joffrey's sitting up front, and he seems to be in a good mood because he gives her like a compliment on her dress and like, oh, thank you for wearing my stones. Like, come sit with me. Grabs her hand, and she mentions how she would have loved that.
He's gonna be gallant today.
Yeah, one day it would be like the best thing ever.
And now she's just cold to it. Tommen and Marcella are seated behind them. The Hound is there in his white cloak, which.
So this is also where Sansa mentions why they're holding the war inside the wall. She says, war raged beyond the Trident and desperate men were filling into the city. So the city's like kind of getting full, and I assume more men means more issues, but kind of like when there was the tournament, right? They had like Janos Slint get like more men for the gold cloaks because there was literally a headless body, like a decapitated corpse riding down the street of the sisters. And like, remember that chapter where Jonas was saying all the shit that was going down for the tournament? It's got to be similar, if not worse, because you're just like flooding the city with more and more people.
Well, and it's not just more and more people; it's refugees too. You know, like it's people that.
Yeah.
First off, some of them probably want to kill some of the Lannisters.
Who knows who who knows where the loyalties lie exactly? Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty much all.
Yep. So the next thing is another thing that's weird is Sansa. I feel like we've seen this before too. She likes when Cersei's around because Cersei tempers Joffrey, makes him so that he can't kind of go over the top. Maybe Cersei would be able to stop like the drowning of Sir Dantos, so Sansa doesn't have to step in, like that kind of stuff. That's probably why. And I bet you Cersei doesn't let Joffrey just like have people hit Sansa, like at least not in the open in front of people.
Well, for sure. And maybe that's just in the show. But I thought Cersei was like, yeah, don't ever hit your wife, pretty much.
Yeah, that wasn't only in the show, but yeah, that's a cool Joffrey Cersei scene.
I think she also kind of hints at that when she's talking to Ned too, like Robert doesn't hit her, like that she wouldn't put up with that shit. Pretty much, if
yeah, she said Jamie would have killed him. She said that's
only happened like once or twice, right?
Yeah, she said Jamie would have killed him.
I mean, I think that's kind of part of it, as well as exactly. She wouldn't let him do that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
but we do learn that she doesn't trust her at the end.
Yeah. So, but why is Cersei not here?
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna bring up. One big note is that the council had
she's doing actual work.
Not news to us. Not news to us, but news to Cersei. We heard about this in the last Tyrion chapter.
Because Tywin's going to Harrenhal instead of bringing the troops back to this.
Was that the news, or I kind of thought that maybe Viserys was the news?
No, that was the news.
Because I think it might be both. Because Joffrey would bring it up. So like Joffrey was like, rah, did you hear this? Like he's just kind of spouting off the recent news, even though he doesn't care about the council.
But that would have had to have been before, because she never showed up during this.
Well, no, I mean, Jeff's just saying that this is the first time Sansa's hearing about this. Sansa's probably near people from the court a lot, so she would have heard about this earlier. So it is definitely recent news. Maybe they're talking about it at the council. I'm not sure. Aerys definitely flat out says the reason Cersei's not here is because she's pissed off that Tywin disobeyed her, right? Because she said she commanded Tywin to bring the army back to defend against Renly, and Tywin's like, nah, I'm going to send Tyrion. And I'm going to go chill at Harrenhal, which is what they just found out, right? And which what Cersei's pissed about.
Yeah. Do you think Tywin told like all that, or just said like, hey, I'm chilling at Harrenhal, I'm sending Tyrion? I guess I don't remember if he sent a letter ahead, like.
I mean, he had to
or
send a letter
if
ahead,
Tyrion's
right?
just bringing that news with him that he's, hey,
no
I'm here
one would
too.
listen to him if Tyrion was just saying that.
I'm not sure. I would assume
with a note from Tywin in his hand, they're definitely going to listen to him.
Yeah, I mean, if they got word that Tywin's not coming, I assume they got word directly from Tywin himself. But if he's not, unless he's at Harrenhal, I mean, I don't know.
They wouldn't have got it from Tyrion. They wouldn't have got that news from Tyrion. Tyrion doesn't show up till the end of this chapter.
Yeah, exactly. So not from Tyrion. Yeah, so they would have had to got a raid.
No, I'm just saying the news that Tyrion was coming to be.
Oh, they had to know that.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm not just going to say it's that.
That's what we were saying. If they know about Tywin going to Harrenhal, they know that Tyrion's on his way. But Joffrey doesn't seem to.
I'm not going to just say that we know that for fact, but maybe they do.
I'm not going to say I would assume we do, but Joffrey doesn't seem to hear. Right? Joffrey doesn't be like, oh, like I know why you're here.
Like Cersei doesn't like him. Joffrey has made fun of him too, right? Like
Joffrey doesn't seem to be the great. I mean, the only time we really see them is when Tyrion slaps Joffrey twice in that first Tyrion. That was the only time we see them together. But here he doesn't greet Tyrion nicely, but he does say like, "I'm happy you're not dead" at one point. So I don't think they hate each other.
He does say that.
That doesn't mean that he likes somebody, though.
It doesn't mean he likes him, but it means he doesn't hate him. At least that's what I take it. He's the king. If he wanted to, he could be like, I wish you were fucking dead. What's anyone going to do about it? I mean, he is with all those fucking... Tyrion does show up with a lot of people. Anyway, moving on. Let's go to the tourney. Aerys, the one thing they also say is while Aerys is spewing all this, Sansa says he likes to gossip, but he shuts his fucking mouth whenever they pass him Lannisters because he doesn't want to be caught gossiping. So then,
which is smart.
Yeah,
smart by him.
Yep, we jump down. We're back already. We're at the tournament. One thing about Tommen and Marcella, Tommen is like Bran's age, which is like kind of sad to think about. Like this is and Sansa even thinks like she reminds him of Bran. Bran is like literally running Winterfell, like not running it. There's like he's got Lewin and all those people to help him, but he's like the Starks are living totally different lives than the Lannisters. Like these kids, and there's even a part where like they're like you're being childish, and like we're kids, we're allowed to be childish. I think that is meant to be like a juxtaposition to the Starks, who are like the Lannisters still get to have their childhood, and the Starks, all of them are like in a pretty shitty situation. Even Bran, who's still at home, like crippled, no family, kind of has a ton of responsibility on his shoulders, like. Nobody from the Lannisters has it, or nobody from the Starks has it as like willful and free as the Lannisters, I guess.
Rickon's pretty free.
Even the king.
Yeah, Rickon's a wild dog.
Even the king is just fucking
there.
off doing whatever he wants to do, and he's supposed to have the most responsibility.
Joffrey, yeah. Even when you compare Joffrey and Robb is like making hard decisions left and right, and Joffrey is just like commanding people to be drowned in wine, right? Like night and day.
So they start their first couple. Runs down I don't even know what it is. It's just like a patch of
the galley.
Yeah, but it's just probably a fence in the middle of the yard, right? But
they're in the training yard where they probably train to joust every day.
Yeah,
so
I guess
something set up.
right.
It's just not. It's not like fanfare. There's no banners and like bleachers.
It's like being on your practice field versus
exactly.
Who's the first go around? Meryn Trant, is he first?
Was it a red one and Trant?
It is the one twin,
Hobart,
yeah.
Hobart, yeah. Hobart
so one thing is, Joff says that he considers the Hound's talking shit. Like Sansa asked the Hound, "Are you?" Because this is when Sansa gets the Hound. She's like, "Are you gonna fight?" He's like, "Nah, they're all gnats." The Hound really likes comparing people to animals. I guess that's just a big thing. Like, it wasn't Roderick calling people like gooses and porcupines when they were like fighting in the yard. The Hound always calls Sansa a bird. Now he's calling these people gnats.
I mean, it happens in real life too. Like people get called a sheep or a pigeon.
Yeah, you're right.
You know.
But so what's Joffrey threatened to do here?
Donkey.
Nah.
Donkey.
The Hound says he's not even gonna fight because it's not worth the time to armor himself to fight these fools.
It's like almost less honorable beating that crew of fucking schmucks out there.
What's Joffrey say? Maybe I should make the winner fight the Hound to the death.
Yeah. And this is where Sansa goes in, and he likes to make people fight to the death. And
well, the Hound. I think the Hound has a pretty cool response. He's like, "You be one knight the fewer." But it's like it's like a tricky thing because the Hound's not a knight. You have to know enough about the Hound to know that he doesn't really like knights. He probably could be a knight if he wanted to.
And that's why Sansa was like, "Oh."
So when he says that, he's like, I'm just gonna kill whoever the fuck you send again. This is what the Hound is saying. He's like, maybe I'll make you fight him. He's like, well then I'm gonna fucking kill him. He's like, it's gonna be a stupid thing to do. Which I don't know. Like again, like they say there's gnats. But we got Kingsguard in here. Kingsguard is supposed to be like the most badass of the badass. Right?
Yeah, but to that point,
we
don't know about these knights. Like Meryn Trant. The only thing we've seen is that he beat a guy with a wooden sword.
And he knocks Harbor Redwine. And he wins his joust, too.
But who the fuck's Harbor Redwine? Like,
Redwine.
Like, we don't know if any of these guys are actually...
Well, they even say, like, Sansa's even like, I don't even think they want to do this. I think that Cersei's probably forcing them to be part of this.
They're definitely unwilling guests. So why? What do we know about anything? Do we know anything about these Redwine? Kyle? We'll start with Kyle, Glow. Then we'll go to you because I don't think Jeff's going to know.
Man, I forget at this point. But they're probably like some of the people, like some of the I want to say the villages scattered around that got raided by the mountain.
I'll give you a hint. They're not a major house in terms of one of the 7. But they are like a Manderley or a... Umber would like they are to the Starks, they are to another family. Glow?
The Redwines are bannermen to the I can't think of their names.
Oh my god! All that waving and bullshit. I know the answer. They're bannermen to the.
The Redwines are the bannermen to the Tyrells, and the Tyrells are with Renly Baratheon right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So you think they're just like trapped in there, like they just won't let them leave?
100%.
I mean, obviously, if you leave, you're a treason.
Well, Sansa says that they are unwilling guests, the same as she is.
Yeah.
So they can't be. I mean, again, like Sansa's not locked in a
couldn't.
cage.
What would they just do? Go and be like, all right, we're pulling all our people out, but we're still loyal to you. Like they would
It's
just
weird
be
though,
not
'cause,
believable.
Like they don't have Sansa.
Why are they there?
They were there.
Probably from the last
there on-
tourney or whatever.
They were just there.
something.
Yeah, like they have just been there.
Okay.
Like they've pretty much been in King's Land. To what I know, they've been in King's Landing since the tourney. Like we heard about them in the Arya chapter where Ned gets beheaded. She sees the two red wine twins. Like that's the people who they have to make way for on the street of the street of sisters as they go to the.
Yeah.
So like I think they were just happened to be in the city when the shit hit the fan. But it's weird because I understand like why Sansa's not in a dungeon because she's like a little kid. But like you have two knights on the opposite. Like fighting, like whose house is fighting for the opposite side. Like,
is there a house with them though? Like you think
we don't know. We don't know if the red ones are.
I feel like if you're everyone else that's not in.
That's a good point. Maybe they're
King's Landing. Like you can't be like, all right, we're gonna go fight for Renly, or they'll just kill the two people there.
Yeah, you're probably right. That's probably why they're there. It's like they're not. They don't have.
They're hostages.
Yeah, they're keeping hostages so that the red ones don't join with the Tyrells, even though they are bannermen. Yeah, because I was thinking like if they were on the other side, like you would put these guys in the dungeon because they could kill. Like again, there's like the hounds there, but like what if this guy just charged? Like what if they both charge at Joffrey right now? Right?
Are they good?
They probably get killed.
They didn't come out of this sounding like they were. What's that?
No, I'm with you, Kyle. They don't come out of this.
I'm just saying, regardless, if you have a grown man who is a knight, you're not going to let him just like be in a tournament next to the king when he's in open rebellion. Which is what I thought was weird about it. But now that I'm seeing it, like the hostage thing that Glow's saying, that's definitely what it is.
I don't even know if that they're like Ned.
It's more like a ward with like Theon.
Imagine the Karstark guys. The sons didn't die and they got captured. There's no fucking shot Karstarks are riding in this tourney. They're in a fucking dungeon somewhere. That's my point. It's like I thought I thought they were like the same level, and I'm like, how the fuck are they treating these people like Sansa? But I think it's what Glow
I don't
know
if they did anything wrong yet. Like whereas the Karstarks are already fighting.
Exactly, which is what Glow said. He's like basically the having the twins as hostage keeps the red wines on the fence. It keeps them from choosing a side. Or if anything, maybe the red wines had to side with the Lannisters instead of the Targaryens because of this.
I don't know, but you look at like Ned got captured, and that all that did was cause the Starks to fight. It's the same idea, being in the dungeon. He was worth more alive. I don't know. It's weird. I guess you're right.
Well, maybe that's the point, is that they're not in the dungeon. So it's like, hey, we're treating this guy nicely. Like, do you want us to fuck this guy up?
Yeah.
Partly probably because they don't want to show fear and weakness. Like you got these random dudes locked up in your dungeon for no real reason, and that shows that you're kind of afraid of what's his name's side a little bit.
Yeah, I guess.
And they're also not in open war yet. They have not come to blows.
I think once someone takes up arms, it's got to be just a matter of time.
I said open war, like fighting.
They haven't met yet, but they're kind of across the country right now.
Yeah, not super far.
Do you think the kingdom knows this? Like all the small folk?
There's rumors, I would say.
Yeah, I don't know how. It depends on how fast word carries, but we've pretty much heard it. We haven't heard it like up in the John. We haven't heard like John hasn't heard that Renly's named king, but like Rob heard it, Tyrion, like all the other main characters who are involved in this war have heard about it. So like I don't know if it matters if the small.
There's some kind of rumor out there, I'm sure.
Yeah, but let's get into this first bout. So they go Meryn and Haber. First one is actually pretty good. They both lances break, both keep their horse. They go again. Second time, they make it seem like Meryn's being a little douchey. Sansa does. Again, I don't know how well Sansa is good at watching joust, but she kind of says that Meryn moves his lance to hit Haber in the chest, which I don't think is the goal. Right? The goal is to hit the shield no matter what. You just want to hit the shield and knock him off.
Is that true?
I think so. I think it's like, and I mean, Joffrey even says that was poorly written.
Poorly written by the guy who falls off his horse after 2 passes.
I thought he meant poorly written by Meryn, who hit him in the chest. I just thought that was
maybe. I don't know the
as well, Jeff.
I thought you were able to. I thought it was pretty much like hit them wherever, get them off their horse. Like, sure, like aiming for the shield might be center mass, so it's a little bit easier as you're full speed sprinting. But I don't know the the proper way to joust. Like he wins, so it's not illegal to hit him in the chest.
I know Dunk gets into it in the Hedge Knight, so we'll find out in a couple weeks here. But they definitely talk about that in the Hedge Knight, like the right things to do.
I do remember it. I don't remember what he said, but.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah,
either.
right.
I thought it was
If it
just
would've-
with the shield.
If it was illegal to hit him in the chest, he would have lost, right? He would have been disqualified.
I don't think it's a legality thing though. Like, I don't know. Yeah, it's more of an honor.
He's
yeah,
moving
exactly.
on to the tournament, so you
Sure.
can do that and continue to win. So
Sure.
fuck it.
Yeah.
Just like Bill Belichick.
Yeah, exactly. Deflategate.
I don't think you're supposed to inflict harm on each other in the joust.
Yes,
Like, I think it's
that's what
supposed
I
to be
agree.
more of a game.
Yeah, I think that's
kind of thing.
exactly. I think that's the point. And when you hit somebody in like you're wearing armor for protection, but not like to be hit there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I that again, that's my understanding, but I might be wrong. We'll find. I know we'll find out when we read the Hedge Knight.
All right, whatever. So the next fight comes on.
Balon Swan
and it's
and
Balon Swan and Janos Slint's son.
Moro Slint, who has no idea what the fuck he's doing.
Yeah,
Can
and
he even hold
Joff
a
even is
shield?
like laughing at him.
This is a Nat. I mean, that's interesting, right? Because like Joff, it maybe not
he-
directly, but like definitely
made him-
his cabinet or whatever you call it, his council raised Jaina Slint to High Lord. And the first thing he said before he even shows how bad he is, he's like, this up jump ope. like you're the guy who up jumped him, like you asshole.
Yeah.
This is your fault.
Like,
man.
what a prick.
We get Sansa's kind of opinion on the Slint family.
So this is something we don't know yet. What Sansa says here, we haven't actually heard yet because Arya didn't see the beheading. But
Right.
after the beheading happened, Janos was the one that picked up Ned's head and showed it to King and crowd to show it to everybody.
And I don't even think we see it in the show. I'm pretty sure it zooms in on Arya, and it's just kind of like foggy in the background.
Yeah, you don't even get to see his head get cut off. I was so disappointed about that.
You can kind of see someone like lifting it up in the background, I think, of that shot, but you can't tell who it is. And it might even be
Funny Easter egg. In episode 10 of season 1, when the scene where Joffrey takes Sansa up to look at the heads, the production team for some reason had a decapitated head of George W. Bush from a different production,
No, I remember that.
and they used it like facing away or whatever. They just like put dirt on it and used it because they just needed heads, and they just like hey, we had this one, so just use it. And people noticed it and got really fucking pissed off and thought that it was like a liberal, like Game of Thrones was like taking a side and like being like saying like fuck
I've
George
seen that
W and like
before.
stuff like that. And they had to come out and be like no, like it was just a head we had. Like, I swear to God, it was from the.
Sorry.
Like, they had to like point out they like had to pull up
You
like
knew-
frames
you
from
knew
whatever
in
other
this-
production it was used in and stuff.
You knew in this era, though, like nothing is ever missed anymore.
Oh my god!
Like
no.
I feel like people are literally are gonna watch something to like find a mistake, right?
Starbucks
Like,
cup.
I mean, that was way
Starbucks
more
cup.
obvious.
I mean, that was. I mean, we didn't know it at first. I don't think.
Yeah, for sure.
I
for
didn't
sure.
notice it.
Yeah.
But
it was way more obvious.
Like-
I'm sure people noticed that on the first.
I think there's
go-through. I don't think
one,
anybody noticed George W on the first go through.
Yeah, I only saw the picture. I never.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I ever seen it while watching. I just know that there's a picture. But like someone drives a plane through the Gladiator, or Troy. One
Really?
of the, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
It's just like going overhead, like an actual, like an airliner or whatever. Yeah.
But
that's a good one.
So what happens to Moros? Is that how you say his name? Moros?
That's how I would say it.
I would
Moros.
say Moros.
Moros.
Doesn't Moros mean like gross?
Gross and like dying.
Yeah. Which is like, I think George does
Like a
that with
decaying body is
yeah,
morose.
I think George does that with names sometimes, like just give people shitty names who are shitheads.
Before we get into the fight or the joust, they mention what Slint's new sigil is because he's now the Lord of Harrenhal.
They've mentioned this
I thought he-
before.
Yeah, he picked
it's
that.
did he?
before.
A bloody
Okay.
spear.
It's a spear.
Yeah. Okay.
So they go at it, and he does not do well. Sansa says he doesn't know what the fuck to do with his shield. He pretty much drops his lance as soon as contact is made. He falls off his horse, but like his foot gets stuck in the stirrup, and just like his head bounces the whole way down.
He's just getting
He's
dragged.
like, oh shit to the
He's
gods,
lucky to be
listen to my
alive.
prayer.
And before this, yeah, she said like, I hope he gets
I hope he
shamed, and
dies.
I hope he dies.
And she immediately feels bad
Well, I don't
when
know
she
if she
thinks
feels
he
bad, but
might.
she's
No,
like,
she does.
I don't know. She's like,
appalled.
oh, was she appalled? I thought she was just like, holy shit, did that work?
Sansa was appalled, wondering if the gods had heard her vengeful prayer.
I thought she was like happy about it.
No, Sansa was appalled.
Gotcha. But he didn't die. He was. They say that they untangle him and he comes up bloody, but he's still alive.
And Joffrey goes right into another joke of, Tommen, we found the wrong. We picked the wrong foe for you, not
Yeah.
the straw man. You should have faced
This guy's worse than the
Moros.
guy. Yeah, the straw guy.
And it sounds like it might be true. Like Tommen might actually know how to hold the thing, and
Yeah.
make a strike.
Tommen goes with the sword. Tommen goes with the sword, not a lance.
Yeah, okay. I'm sure they have like a smaller lance for him at the end of the day.
Although, Tommen does lose to the straw man.
Yeah. So. He does lose to the straw man. But to be fair, that guy hits him in the back of the head.
That's a cheap shot. So next was Sir Horace versus, we don't get a named person, an elderly knight with silver griffins against a striped blue white field. Horace wins. It wasn't even close. Joff's starting to get bored, not happy. Says it's a feeble show. Sansa's like, I better really watch what I fucking say. He's not in a good mood. Next up, we got Lothar Bruin and Dantos Hollard. This is pretty much the most interesting of the bouts because Lothar Bruin shows up and Dantos' horse shows up, followed shortly after by a half-naked Dantos who tries to mount his horse without pants on. Like he was gonna give it a good old college try.
How does he not have pants on? What the fuck's going on with this guy?
He's wasted. He's just wasted behind scenes.
Where were his pants while he was getting wasted? Was he like banging a girl in the hallway?
That's what I was thinking. His pants is definitely first. And when putting on armor, pants is definitely first. Because once you have like upper body armor on, there's no way you can bend well. Right, so
you're not putting any of that on. That's why you have squires and shit.
Yeah, you're right. Does this guy have a squire? Whereas his squire should be fucking fired if this guy's got a squire.
There's probably like
he's about to be after the
squire. He's about to be super fired.
Because like there's nobody around. But
community squire.
Yeah, like what I'm saying, like one's provided for you.
You cannot afford one will be appointed to you.
But like I think his horse got away from him, right? Yeah. Is that probably what happened? Is like my guess is he was getting dressed. So drunk, and his horse got away from him, and then he tried to chase him down because it was too late at that point.
Ends up in front of everybody.
You just gotta say at that point, like, nah, not my horse. Give me another one. Like, you don't. I mean, I guess he's drunk, because then he just lays down in the dirt. Like, imagine just like butt ass naked. You got dirt going up your bunghole. The whole deal.
It can't be comfy.
He's like, I quit. I lose. Give me some wine.
Yeah,
I'll take the losers bracket.
And Joffrey's just like, yeah, bring him the wine. Bring him a whole cask of it, and I'm going to fucking dunk your head in it till you're dead.
Yep.
And then Sansa's like, you can't.
What? What did you say?
She makes up some BS off the top of her head that might have some truth to it.
It was pretty good. So you can't kill someone on your name day. It's ill luck.
It sounds like something that they would believe in, but you would think that everybody else would have heard of it.
The Hound has heard of it.
I'm not putting any stock in that.
He?
I think the Hound is being nice. Yeah.
I think the Hound's just backing her up.
Is the Hound being nice, or is it true? Because Sansa even wondered. Like, I think it's probably meant to be interpreted as 90% the Hound's being right, 10% chance the Hound. Because they even say like the Hound says it in a tone that he doesn't give a fuck if Joffrey believes him or not, right?
Well, and the Hound wouldn't care if this guy dies either. Right? Like fuck it. I'll kill him.
Yeah, I guess. I think
we've never seen the Hound remorseful about killing somebody.
Yeah, for sure.
So why would he care about this guy?
Yeah, I don't
So
exactly.
Maybe there's
which is why
there's some belief to it.
I think there's a slight potential of truth, but I think a very high % chance he's just being nice.
The Hound isn't worried about killing this guy. He's worried about Sansa.
More worried about Sansa is what I think. Again, just from what we saw in the last chapter.
Save Sansa's arms.
Yeah. No, I'm 100% on board. There's something. It's weird. Like, why care about this guy? And because of Sansa cares or seems to care.
Well, I think it's just because even if
Joffrey was going to beat her ass.
Yeah, he doesn't want her to get beat up. He doesn't give a shit. The guy is insignificant.
Yeah. Doesn't he even? Joffrey even says like, "I'll drown you with him." Like, I don't know if I think it's a fake. Care, I think it's a fake threat.
If you care about him that much, yeah.
I think it's a fake threat. But he's like, "I'll fucking drown you with him." And that's when the Hound's like, "Okay, hold on, she's right. Cool your horses." Again, I think Kyle's right. I think the Hound's realizing that Joffrey's like, "Cool the fuck out, dude. Like, you're a hard ass, but like, let her be. She's being nice." So then
I think he thinks he's a gnat as well. I don't think he cares about Joffrey like that. Like, I think he knows that he's a piece of shit and he's not a fighter and he's just doing all this shit to
Who's doing this shit? Joffrey or the Hound?
Joffrey, yeah.
Like show off.
Flaunt
yeah,
shit
exactly.
around.
He's like showboating to make up for
compensate.
Yeah. That's the word. Yeah.
Compensating for a
and if you think
dick.
about, like, obviously the Hound is a revered fighter, right? Like, people know about him.
Well,
like he's huge. He's, dangerous. He knows what it takes to be a good swordsman. He's with Joffrey every step of the way, watching him train or not train. Like, we don't hear of him going to the yard and training like we heard the Stark boys, and just he's always just doing like what he thinks the king should do, or just bullshit, So he probably knows he's a fucking gnat because he's seen him train.
Oh yeah, no, he definitely. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I think he kind of resents his position being stuck with Joffrey,
guarding someone who doesn't respect.
Yeah, he kind of seemed like at first like he did like him, or at least like was willing to do whatever for him.
Like bullies because they both like making fun of people type thing. But now he's like, dude, you're a pussy.
Like, well, I mean, and with like the running down of the butcher boy and stuff, like it seemed like he was a little.
He was giving them at least fun jobs to do.
Well, no, like he just didn't have. He seemed like he was Lannister-esque, I guess, in the sense that he didn't give a fuck. He just wanted power, or like was going to do what needed. Not, I'm going to say what needed to be done. That's not even the right word.
What they wanted done.
Yeah, anything for this. But I mean, now he's kind of showing some spine, I think, here, and kind of getting sick of this shit.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
So then Joffrey calls him a fool.
Imagine having to take orders around from some bitchy boy like Joffrey all day. Of course you get
especially
sick
when
of
you're
it.
a badass. Yeah, for sure. It would super suck.
It's like Nelson running.
It's like
the
me
podcast.
listening to Kyle every day. It's like, come on. So
damn, you both.
Go ahead, Jeff.
So then Joffrey just kind of like jokingly calls him like, all right, you're a fool. You're not worth my time.
Like, take this fool away. I'll kill him tomorrow.
And Sansa's like, wait, that's a great idea. You should make him your
He is a fool.
You're so smart to see it.
And he's like, you know what? You will. You're going to go chill with Moon Boy.
No, Moon Boy. That's not Patch
No, I
Face.
know.
Interesting thing she
You
says.
better tattoo him though.
She says that he doesn't deserve the mercy of a quick death.
Yeah.
Yeah, let him die.
She was smart about
slow.
it, man. She put it tactfully that Joffrey would like respond to.
She's learning. That's kind of what I was getting at the beginning there. Yeah,
well, I just thought that quote was kind of similar to this one from the first one, where she says, "I don't want to marry you, Sansa willed. You chopped my father's head off. He was a traitor. I never promised to spare him. I only promised I'd be merciful, and I was. If he hadn't been your father, I would have torn or flayed, but I gave him a clean death." So she's kind of saying like he doesn't deserve the mercy of a quick death. He deserves worse than my father, which kind of pleads like, could Sansa have pulled this trick on Ned and got it to work? Like, could Ned be fucking alive right now?
If she just was like disgusted of him, like go make him,
or like he's a traitor. He doesn't even deserve a clean death.
Suffer on the wall.
Exactly. He deserves to clean your pots for the rest of your life. Yeah. Like, could she have pulled like, I don't know. Again, like it seems like the Hound's helping her out, but I thought that line was definitely similar to Joffrey being like, I gave him a merciful death, and now she's like, he doesn't, and she's saying he doesn't deserve this. Not super close.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that at first, but I think there's merit there.
That's a good point.
So basically, they take him away. That's the deal. Dantas is going to be the new fool, sleep with Moon Boy, dress in motley. He thanks.
So real quick, who's Moon Boy?
Moon Boy is their fool.
I don't know if we've
their fool. I don't know
if we've heard of Moon Boy yet.
We've heard of him twice.
That's what.
Singers, jugglers, King Simple Fool, Moon Boy danced on stilts, making fun of the guests. Even Septa couldn't help but laugh. This was at the first tournament during the Hands tourney.
Okay.
And we've heard of him one other. He was mentioned one time in a Ned's chapter.
This dude was a knight coming into the day, and then he got too drunk, and now he's a jester.
Well, we've heard about him before too.
United that quickly.
We've heard about Dantas before too, like Glow and I think we only heard about one time, and we were laughing about it because like I think it's when Sansa comes to court and he's just like drunk at court, and people are like kind of making fun of him. But it was like red faced or Dantos was like how they like so like that was something that we touched on in the spoiler section. Like, he's got to get drunk at the tourney. It's gonna be great. Because like he's drunk at the fucking at council or in court in book one.
Definitely something like you'd never think of the first time thure because the name just gets lost on you.
Super little thing, a name in passing, but it's like, oh, that's the drunk guy.
It's funny.
So what's that? What's after Dantos? They take him away.
So Joffrey's about to leave. He's like, I'm done with this. And Tom's like, no, I want to joust. And I think that's when they get into like, you're children. And Marcella's like, we are children. And they're like, all right.
Like, Hound's like, he's got you.
They got you there.
And so they get him suited up and strapped up in Lannister colors.
Yeah, but at least he has a stag on his fucking
shield. On his shield.
Oh, on his shield?
The lion and his stag.
But a lion on his chest, right? Or something like that?
I thought you were going to say the enemy, the foe had antlers on his head.
Yeah. which is weird, right? It's still your name. Like, you're fighting yourself.
It's so weird.
Like, you should have had like a rainbow blanket on him or something or whatever.
Yeah. So he rides. Tommen yells Castle Rock again. Seems
another one.
No, stop.
Bullshit.
Stop. What did he yell?
King's fucking Landing or Storm's End.
Storm's End is Renly's seat. You're not going to yell the seat of the person who's named himself king. Maybe King's Landing. Maybe
King's Landing. Then
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think again, it's definitely
Dragonstone.
It stands out when you know that Tommen is like when you know that about like the bastardy here, but when you actually think about it, like why is this not a red flag for everyone else? It totally makes sense. It makes sense.
I get it. I didn't think about that. Like, Storm End was Robert's, now it's Renly's, and
that was like the whole thing in the prologue. Is Stannis is pissed that they gave Renly Storm's End and not him.
Yeah,
right?
I get it.
Yeah.
But
he's probably hanging out with Jaime occasionally and stuff, and like, what do you yell when you run into battle?
Well, he hangs out with Cersei,
like
and that's it. Like that's.
That's what I guess what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
And so like he's talked to Jaime, and Jaime's probably like, oh, we always yell Castle Rock, shit like that, or
yeah.
Like he wasn't hanging out with any Baratheons, I guess what I'm getting at. So most
Not
of the
even
stories
Robert.
he's heard probably were.
So he goes. We talked about it earlier. Doesn't go well. He actually hits the thing.
hits the thing, but it screws himself.
He gets knocked over.
Spins around.
Joffrey laughs. Sansa mentioned that like a few people started cheering when he charges, and she joined in, but Joffrey was not one of them. But then as soon as he falls, Marcella runs over to him, and she gets this like weird sense of courage, and she tells Joffrey like, you should go help your brother up. Like, he rode well. And like tell him he rode well, and Joffrey's like, he didn't fucking ride well, he fell in the dirt. Are you watching the same thing I'm watching? Is that what you call riding well?
And it's just crazy because we haven't heard of anything Joffrey doing except fight Arya and
Joffrey fought Robb.
Lose.
Yeah, did he?
Off camera.
No, I don't.
He fought Robb off screen,
camera,
and then they're like, do you guys want to go
Robb.
again? And Joffrey's like, only with real steel. And then Roderick put an end to it.
Did they even say like how that went? Like, was it evenly matched?
We don't really know. That's the thing. Is like we don't know. Joffrey could have been better than Robb. Joffrey could have been worse than Robb. We don't really know.
I think he was making. Well, I can only use a real sword. Like that's why I lost. I'm not used to these trainings.
That's how I felt
like too, because Robb is like 100% on board as soon as he says that. But the problem is that's a pretty ballsy bluff to make. Because if Roderick says yeah.
No, it's not a ballsy bluff because he knows that no one would allow the prince real steel in the practice yard.
I don't know. If I was Roderick,
by chance that he gets hurt.
If I was Roderick,
by chance that he gets hurt.
If I was Roderick, I'd allow it.
No, bullshit, because if something goes wrong, Roderick's dead.
It's worth it. Joffrey's a piece of shit.
Yeah, I agree.
So if anything happens to him, the Hound was going to step in. Is probably what he knew. Is another thing Joffrey knew. Like he had people that had his back.
The Hound can't just step in and cut Robb in half after he beats Joffrey in a fair fight in front of a bunch of people. That,
but it's not a fair fight. They're in the training yard.
If he's cutting him up or hurting him, it becomes a fight then.
Like Joffrey knew. It's kind of like why Robert couldn't be in the tourney. So don't play. You playing stupid.
I'm playing devil's advocate. I'm arguing to argue. Yeah, you guys are right. I think Robb definitely beat Joffrey.
I know I'm right.
I think
I'm
Joffrey.
never wrong.
I just wanted to point out that it's not clear. It's not clear. I was definitely arguing to argue there. I think you're right. Robb probably kicked his ass, and that's why he said that. I think it is a slightly. Even if there's a 1% chance Roderick says yes, it's a little ballsy to request real steel as that being your out.
No, it was such an empty.
Just be like, I'm tired or I'm fucking hungry or like just anything else. Like, I want to get the fuck out of here.
But he's a 12-year-old boy at the time. Like that's.
I know.
And as you see, he likes to fake swing his dick around here. Yeah. So
he's the big swinging dick on campus.
All right, so we get a knock at the gates.
Well, hang on. The Hound cuts him off, and he's like, hang on, stop talking about Tommen. Tommen's look at that kid. He's gonna get back up. The Hound like gives him praise. He's like, this kid's gonna get back up on his horse and go again. Like, he doesn't give a fuck.
He's got some balls.
Yeah,
kid's got some balls.
And that's when the gates start to rise. And, Sansa really quick wishes. She's like, fuck, I wish Joffrey didn't exist, and I was married to Tommen. Like, he might be a little kid, but like, fuck, he's so much like just nicer. And
just a better person.
I think again, it's just like a Tommen and Marcella are just like what like Sansa, Bran, Arya. Like the age difference doesn't matter. Like it's what all the Starks wish they were doing, right? Like just being kids, doing kid shit, and it's what they don't get to do. I think that's just part of it. What that is. And then gates open. So Joff's like, who the fuck is that? Nobody's opening these gates in days.
The gates have been closed. The gates.
Yeah. And
where?
And in comes a column of men.
He's not big and ballsy with his sword now.
he just sits there, and all these men ride in. Sansa thinks they look a little ragtag. We got a few Lannister.
But there are some Lannister.
We got some Lannister men at arms. We got some sellswords. We got some free riders, and then we get a bunch of monsters and savages out of Old Nan's tales.
With no ears and eyes and
no ears, no eyes, leather.
What are they called? Burned men.
No, the
Stone Crows.
The Mountain Clan.
No,
Mountain
Clans. Okay,
yeah.
Yep. So she thinks it's from Old Nan's tales. Basically, they see Tyrion in the middle, riding on a tall horse with a weird saddle. That gives a little throwback to the saddle he tells Bran about. They say that Tyrion has grown a beard in his long time, and he has a long shadow skin cloak, which we know about from his adventures in the Eyrie. Basically, Tommen rides over to him as soon as he sees him, gets happy. Sansa says that they're the same size. Marcella runs over. He does that spin we talked about earlier. We're like, what the fuck? He has a broken arm. How's that work?
How did he do that?
He comes up and talks to Joffrey, and they have a little back and forth, right?
Isn't he surprised that he's here?
Quick trivia. I think we'll get this one after the short conversation we just had. Two people follow Tyrion. One, what did they say? He's like silent like a cat. Okay, Bronn. What about the other one? Young man missing an eye.
That's his,
oh
my god,
his steward or whatever, but I forget his name.
Pod? Nope.
No,
it's not Podrick.
I thought it was like Timett.
Timett, son of Timett.
Yeah, it's Timett, son of Timett.
Jeff. Timett, son of Timett of the Burn Man.
I knew it was blank, son of blank.
Who had burned his own eye.
He burned it out, yeah.
And Tyrion's like, what are you going to do? You burn your own cock off?
I didn't know he was young, though.
Yeah, he's less than 20 is what they say in that chapter. So Timett, son of Timett and Bronn, again, not really important, just a little trivia. Tyrion goes on a knee and says, "Your Grace," very respectful, and Joffrey's just like, "You." And Tyrion's like, "Yeah, you could have been a little nicer, but it is me." And the Hound's like, "I thought you were fucking dead." And Tyrion's like, "I wasn't really talking to you. I was talking to the king, but I'm alive." And Marcella's like, "I'm glad you're alive." And Tyrion's like, "I'm glad I'm alive too." And then he turns to Sansa and gives her his sympathies. She
doesn't know what to say. Then he gives his sympathies to Joffrey, and Joffrey's like, for what? Dude?
And she's like, your dad died too, dude. Like only 2 or 3 weeks before her dad.
He just doesn't care.
And he's like, oh yeah,
like, oh him.
He's like, oh yeah, it was very sad. It was very sad. It was a boar killed him. And Tyrion's like, oh, is that what they say?
Yeah.
Sansa says she needs to say something, and she remembers that Septa Mordain was preaching courtesy as a lady's armor, and she's like, I'm sorry that my mother took you prisoner. And Tyrion's like, oh, a great many people are sorry for that, and if I get my way, many people will be more sorry by the time this is all through, which is just like, it's 100% true. The whole war started because of Cat. A ton of people are dead because of that. People missing family members, and it's not going to stop now.
Joff then asked...
Joff starts getting mad about Jaime.
Right. Well, and just where the queen is.
That's what I said. Tyrion wants to know where Cersei is. He says she's at the council, and your brother Jaime keeps losing battles.
Well, there's a few things. It's not just that. Jaime keeps losing battles. He got himself captured. They lost River Run, and Robb is named, and her brother has named himself the king.
Her stupid brother.
Yeah. Well, he was already looking at Sansa pretty pissed off about just Jaime losing battles in general. Yeah. And then it goes down the rest of the list here, of more things.
And what's Tyrion say?
Families do.
What's Tyrion say to that? When he says that
all sorts of people are calling themselves king these days.
Just like, I feel like Tyrion
just another slight at Joffrey too,
keeps making
yeah, but he doesn't realize it. I don't think Joffrey.
He's so fucking stupid.
Tyrion's making
was like, wait, is he talking shit about me?
In the disguise of talking shit on like Renly or whatever, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Renly. They don't seem to know Stannis knows all the stuff that we know.
No, Renly has like proclaimed himself king, I guess, to the wild world, but Stannis hasn't really done that yet. Stannis feels like he should be king, but no one in the world that we know of.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I guess it doesn't sound like they're even. I know they talked about him a couple times. Like Tywin was talking about him, I think.
Even the Starks, like when they were like Renly named himself king, they're like, wow, I thought it would be Stannis. Like, yeah, we all did. It's pretty much what everyone was saying. Tywin and the Starks.
So Joffrey asks if Tyrion brought him a gift for his name day, and he says, "I did my wits."
I'd be like, "Go fuck yourself," which is pretty much what Joffrey does. He's like, "I prefer
I'd rather
Rob's
have
head."
Robb Stark's head.
And he looks at Sansa.
And he tells his brother and sister to come, and they leave.
Did we? Oh no, that's later. I was gonna say, did we skip the part where he said he wants one-on-one combat with Ruff?
I do believe
we must have, yeah,
skipped
because
it.
he's leaving now.
Sansa's like, yeah, I would like that very much too.
Yeah. That was early on. That was right when she got to the pavilion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know if he like looking at her like, are you being honest or like, are you fucking with me or not? And then she
I feel like he's just making these like kind of Jim to the camera faces, like,
yeah.
what was that? Like he's just confused, like.
That's kind of the theme of this whole chapter here.
It's people like making fun of
nobody-
Joffrey without him like realizing it.
Well, and just nobody being certain about anybody else's intentions.
Yeah.
Because even Sansa's doing it kind of the whole time too, with, like the Hound and Tyrion and whatnot. Like, I don't really know.
Yeah.
Like, this is a very awkward situation that everybody is in.
Yeah. So back to where we were after they walk off, the Hound basically, it's just the Tyrion, Sansa, and the Hound, and he's like, "Yo, you better fucking watch your mouth, little man." And then the Hound walks off, and Sansa's just sitting there like, "Well, now what do I fucking talk to this guy about?" And she's like, "Well, you hurt your arm." And he's like, "Oh yeah, one of your Northmen hit me with a Morning Star during the Green Fork. I escaped by falling off my horse." And then he like definitely like realizes that Sansa is not as like chipper as maybe he originally thought. He's like, he's like, "Is it the death of your dad that you're so upset about?" And she immediately just jumps in with like, "My dad is a traitor. I love Joffrey. My brother and mother are traitors. Fuck everybody. Lannisters for life." And he's like, "No doubt you're as loyal as deer surrounded by wolves." And she whispers lions without even thinking about it. And she's like, "Oh fuck, I just said that out loud." And Tyrion grabs her hand and gives it a squeeze and says, "I'm only a little lion child, and I vow I shall not savage you. But now you must excuse me. I have urgent business with the Queen and Council." And he departs. She thinks to herself, kind of what Kyle was saying earlier, is he's more gentle than Joffrey, but so is Cersei. I don't fucking trust any Lannisters. Never will I. It's pretty much how the chapter ends, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Where's his girlfriend at? I figured she'd be right there with him.
Tywin told her not to bring him. You think he's just gonna...
And the last thing he said was, "Hey, looks like we're going to court."
Yeah, but I don't know if you just
It was
like
definitely-
openly...
You gotta keep her hidden.
I don't
then,
know.
dog.
If Tywin said, "Hey,
What was
I'm
it?
sending Tyrion," hold on. If Tywin was like, "Hey, I'm sending Tyrion to make hand," if he comes with a girl, she's a whore, kill her. You know, like that would have been right in the instructions too. There's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, we literally know what happened last time Tywin... Tyrion didn't disobey Tywin, but last time Tyrion upset Tywin in terms of a relationship with a whore, we know how that turned out. Right? Like,
yeah.
we know that Tyrion had the intention to bring her. It's probably not the best idea to walk her through the front gates, or else everyone in the fucking Lannister guards are gonna be fucking her in 2 days, like happened last time.
Okay, so you're saying she might be with him, just not with him.
If I was Tyrion, that's what I would do.
Correct.
I'll say that.
Okay, that's fair. I'm trying to leave it open because I for sure thought he was bringing her, and like didn't give a shit about anybody else.
I'll tell you, we get a Tyrion chapter here in the next few. That's not true.
The next chapter.
It's
Is it?
just the next chapter.
Yeah, next chapter.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I was gonna say something about that. It's weird that we have one that's kind of butts up to the back of the other one like this.
Well, it's weird.
Tyrion is next.
Well, we lost Ned from King's Landing, and we got Tyrion back in King's. In terms of like point of views from like areas,
The council chambers.
I feel like Sansa isn't enough of a character to give us like
Yeah.
what's happening politically in King's Landing.
Yeah,
So
she's not gonna get
we needed either a
the
new
war talk. and,
we need either a new POV or one of our existing characters to get here. Don't go skimming ahead, Kyle, but we do get a few new POVs in this book.
I know you told me that, and I haven't.
Quit skimming,
I
Kyle.
messaged our artist today, asked to recommission him. He said he's in.
What'd he say?
Not really.
He said
He's in? When's he drawing me?
I'm gonna get that. I think I have to
Oh,
get the two characters next because we might run into them soon.
Is he doing caricatures of us or actual pictures?
Well, I asked him to redo the last correspondence I had with him before we stopped talking. We never followed up on it. Was he sent me the one for Egg, which is good. I actually got him to draw Duncan Egg, so doing the Hedge Knight will give us a reason to do him again. But I said, he said, "Can you prepare the next character description and send it to me?" And I was like, "Okay, actually, we're thinking of having you make a new logo for us if that's something you'd be interested in. We don't have too many ideas, but thought it might be cool if you illustrated each of us. There are 4 of us in the same style and clothes as the characters, and somehow incorporated that into the logo. It would obviously be a bigger project, and we could discuss the price." So like basically, we would say like you guys are gonna have to choose your house colors and stuff, and either I think I talked about this to you before, like literally a year ago. I just haven't talked to this guy
We
for a
did.
long.
We picked houses or whatever.
Were we gonna send him pictures of us or?
We didn't decide. I don't think on that. Did we wrap up the episode? Let's wrap up the episode
That's a good
first.
point.
All right, Kyle, do you have
All right,
any major
any
predictions
predictions?
on what's going to happen with Sansa?
I don't actually. This one, I mean, it's again. We talked about this kind of last week. It's a setup chapter. There's not really much going on. I mean, she's definitely learning. I think she's going to kind of continue to get better at manipulating and treading carefully.
Treading those waters.
Yeah, but not even that. Just like, you know what I'm saying? Like not stepping on Joffrey, but I don't think she's going to be as subservient as he wants, obviously, all the time. I think she's kind of showing some flashes of that still.
Like kind of when she was like, "Go help Tommen up. He deserved to be told."
Yeah. Yeah, and she's going to try and guide him in the right direction or whatever, but I think at the same time, like, she knows her time there is bullshit, and she wants to leave. It's my guess. But
Any predictions for Tyrion? I will tell you
I was gonna
that
say,
the next
what's
chapter
happened-
takes place pretty much exactly where this one left off. Like 0 time has passed, pretty much.
okay. I mean, I am interested to find out what's going on in the council, but I assume Cersei's not going to be happy he's there.
Decent prediction.
Because the only reason he's there is to fucking rule instead of her.
Yep.
And that's pretty much what Tywin told her. And I mean, that's really the
she's
only...
been having some fun while she's been leading.
What's that?
She's been promoting people and firing people and
Yeah.
getting Ned killed and continuing a war.
Well, I don't think she wanted that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, well, it happened under her watch.
yeah.
It's very true.
Yeah, it's definitely a punishment for her that he's there.
All right. Well, let's call it, and that's good for this chapter. We'll see you guys in the spoiler section. See Kyle in the next one for Tyrion 1 Clash of Kings. Bye, Kyle.
See you later, Cal.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
All right, see you later, Cal. It's
Bye,
great hanging out, bud.
Cal.
We'll see you on the next show for Tyrion 1.
Bye-bye.
And now, on to the spoiler section for Sansa 1. Boys, what are your hot takes for this sode?
There's not. I mean, I feel like there's like a bunch of stuff we could touch on, but nothing that.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
really
let's
wanna
not
get
go.
super
Let's
deep
not go
in.
down the whole Dantos train and the whole.
Yeah, like Dantos becomes a big part helping Sansa escape, gets killed by Littlefinger later.
The biggest
kinda
thing
weird.
is the Hound and Sansa's relationship.
And how it's blossoming into a true friendship.
While we're on the Dantos thing, I think it's interesting that who is Dantos supposed to fight?
One of Littlefinger's men.
Lothar Brune. Yeah. Again, that's pretty much all I had. I don't think there's much there, but like
It is one curious thing I have with Dantos is how he becomes mixed up with Littlefinger and the escape plan. Why him?
yeah, I'm not
Doesn't-
sure.
It's
Like,
it
'cause
doesn't
he's a
seem like it would
full-on-
need to be him.
yeah. That whole escape plan, like part of the reason I think Tyrion was the target instead of Joffrey was if you think it's Joffrey, it's so convoluted. Like why involve the if Littlefinger wants Joffrey dead, why involve the Tyrells at all?
To
Like, you
blame
don't
somebody else, to have blame on someone else.
Maybe, but like it just makes way more sense if Littlefinger wants Tyrion dead. Like even in the show when Sansa's like, "Why'd you kill him?" He's like, "Oh, just keep your
Littlefinger
enemies
wants
confused."
Tyrion.
He's
dead.
like, "Keep your enemies confused." Littlefinger needs Tyrion dead to marry Sansa.
Yeah,
Like
you said
in
it
the Eyrie.
backwards. You said it backwards.
Oh, sorry. Like Littlefinger needs Tyrion dead to marry Sansa. He like says that in the Eyrie. Like I have to kill the imp before I can marry you off as
Makes
a true
sense.
Stark.
And it's his cup. Blah blah blah. You know,
The theory is that it's not the cup. Like,
it's the wine. It's the
pigeon
wine that's
pie.
placed in front of Tyrion, right?
No, it's the
It's
pie.
the pigeon pie.
It's the pie.
Ah.
Because like the theory goes like a lot of the theory goes along has to do with the prologue from this book, right? Because like Crescent drinks that wine and then cannot talk for a second. Like he's dead. As soon as he drinks the wine, he's done.
Yeah, that's true.
And he even says like, yeah, you can dissolve it in wine and it makes you choke. But he's like, when he's talking about it, he's like, yeah, you dissolve it in wine and it becomes sweet. But he's like, but you dissolve it in something you can actually choke on. You can't choke on wine. You would normally, if you're trying to make it look like an accident, you wouldn't put it in wine. You put it in wine if you don't give a fuck what happens. Crescent didn't give a fuck what happens. He's gonna die anyway. He's just trying to kill Melisandre. But if you're trying to kill somebody and make it look like an accident, you put it in like pie where you can actually choke on it. So what happens at the Joffrey wedding is Joffrey takes a cup of wine, talks a bunch, takes a bite of Tyrion's pie, and then can't talk at all and dies. So people think that basically Littlefinger just had a server, one of the people who was serving the pie, take a gem off Sansa's hairnet and put it in the. Even then, the hairnet's still convoluted. Is way too convoluted to me. Why not just give the poison to the serving man? I guess the thing is you don't know which serving man is going to be the one that's serving the pie to Tyrion like at the time of the day, but like that seems like something you could plan up.
Well, that's why Olenna was involved. Didn't she fuck with the hairnet?
She touches in Sansa's chapter. Olenna touches her hairnet for sure, which is I think meant to be a potential, which is where the show got what their answer was, and maybe that's the right answer. It just doesn't make sense because when Sansa gets on Littlefinger's boat, she's like, "Why'd you kill him?" She's like, and his answer is literally just do stuff that people won't expect you to do. Like that's not a good reason to kill somebody. Trying to kill Tyrion is a great reason to kill somebody. He had 100% of a motive. Littlefinger's supposed motive for killing Joffrey was keep him guessing, which like okay maybe, but like it doesn't really make sense. And if you read when we'll get to it when we read that chapter, when Sansa's like, what happened? How did Joffrey die? Littlefinger's like, you tell me how Joffrey died. And Sansa's like, well, Lady Olenna touched my hairnet. And Littlefinger's like, there you go. But Littlefinger doesn't give her any information that she doesn't offer up first. Right. When we reread those chapters, we'll see all that. But yeah, again, I don't know what we're getting at, but I think it makes way more sense for Joffrey to not be the target of the poison.
Yeah, no, I remember you talking at length about that before.
Yeah. That's one of the theories that Preston Jacobs has put up, and a lot of people think Preston Jacobs has a lot of crackpot theories. That's one that I'm 100% behind. But whatever. Going back to this chapter.
I mean, is there anything that we can talk about with the Hound? And we don't know anything. Like
the Hound. Your thing was the Hound and Sansa, right?
Yeah. And yeah, even though
he takes her under his wing.
I mean, nothing more than we really talked about. Like, there's stuff that happens with the Blackwater, but again, we'll get to that when the Blackwater happens. There's definitely something there between the Hound and not just Sansa, but I think both Arya and Sansa, both Stark girls.
Yeah, I mean, my only thing that I had is I know Aaron Santagar is the Master at Arms now, but what does he do further on? Like that name sticks out to me.
He dies at the Riot of King's Landing, but he's the one who knows about the dagger. He's the only one who knows about the dagger that was sent to kill Bran.
Okay.
Right. So he dies at the Riot of King's Landing after Marcella gets sent to Dorne. And a lot of people think Littlefinger organized that riot because a lot of people that he doesn't want alive anymore die during that. Santagar being one of them. Why doesn't Littlefinger want Santagar alive? Because Littlefinger lied about the dagger. Yeah. And that's the person who knows the truth about the dagger. So kill that guy. That's pretty much the Santagar isn't. You're right, because Santagar is in this chapter for one of the few. He's not mentioned very often. He's mentioned a few times in the first book. The only time he's only in this to give Tommen his sword. Right, it's the only time he's mentioned. He hands Tommen his sword. One thing I thought was interesting, not a crazy spoiler. Ares at the beginning of the chapter says that the comet means that Joff will triumph over his enemies because the comet is Lannister colors.
Yeah. And
then Sansa's like, oh, fuck, his enemies are Cat and Robb. So, fuck, are Cat and Robb going to die? But then she's like, oh, never mind. Joffrey's a Baratheon. So they're not actually his colors.
Yeah.
But what do we know?
But they are. He is full Lannister.
And then what happens? Joffrey does triumph over his enemies, Cat and Robb. Joff kills both of those people.
Just them two, yeah.
Yeah, but then he dies.
There's like a paragraph where Ares is like, Joff's going to triumph over his enemies. And Sansa's like, oh, fuck, that means he's going to kill Robb and Cat. Oh, but wait, he's a Baratheon, so he's not going to kill Robb and Cat. But then if you know he's not a Baratheon, then by Sansa's logic, he will kill Robb and Cat. Which, again, Joffrey doesn't kill Robb and Cat, but Joffrey triumphs over Robb and Cat.
Yeah.
I thought that was like an interesting, again, maybe George didn't know that or whatever.
Do you think at any point in the planning of the Red Wedding that Joffrey knew about it?
No, not a shot. Joffrey, there's no way Tywin.
He would have said something, right?
There's no fucking way Tywin would tell Joffrey anything about that until it's completely done. one more thing, as when Tyrion walks, there's like a ton of like really little like little things, right? Like I don't have a ton of them offhand, but the one that just I know because it's at the very end of the chapter, when Sansa watches Tyrion walk off, she's like, "Wow, he looks something that would belong in a grotesquerie."
And he ends up in one.
He ends up in a grotesquerie in book 5. He's in Yazimo Yaznak's grotesquerie. Jeff lost his recording. All right, guys, we had some recording issues there. Jeff cut out, but we were pretty much done anyway. Glow did sign out, but I don't know how it'll fit. If it fits, I won't use this. But bye, guys. See you later.
All right, that's all we have for today's spoiler section, guys. We will see you on the next episode for Tyrion 1. And if please like, subscribe, comment any questions, and we'll see you on the next episode. The night is dark and full of terrors.